We have full team coverage for you this morning with Hugh Remington on the lawns of Parliament House. Press Gallery veteran Paul Bongiorno is in our Canberra studio. Ursula Hager is in the corridors of Parliament House, where any announcements about the spill will be made. As well, the commentator and host of the Bolt Report, Andrew Bolt, is in our Melbourne studio. We also have Studio 10's David Robinson in Tony Abbott's electorate of Warringah for local reaction to today's events. So we're right across it. Let's start with Hugh Remington. Hugh, the polls don't look good for Abbott. Will he survive today?
Well, the polls certainly do not look good for Tony Abbott. Last night I spoke with a Conservative, a supporter of Tony Abbott. He was very glum. He'd just heard what this latest news poll was going to contain for the newspaper this morning, in the Australian this morning. And while he remained a supporter of Tony Abbott, he posited the view that this would cost him 15 votes this morning, chiefly because of two things. One, because the polls indicate that it's not just a problem with the government, it is a problem that is weighted heavily on the Prime Minister himself. He has a satisfaction rating of net minus 44. That's from minus 25 when the last news poll was taken. This is a big slump in personal support for him. It allows politicians to take the view that the problem actually is Tony Abbott. It's not someone else, and that this may play on their minds this morning. Others take a different view about that poll, that it's just the inevitable consequence of the kind of talking within that has been going on within the coalition over the last couple of weeks. Now, one man who's been extremely loyal and arguing the case for Tony Abbott is the Assistant Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, who joins me here on the lawns in front of Parliament. Good morning, Josh.
Nice to be with you here.
Are you still confident that the numbers will be there for the Prime Minister to see off the spill this morning?
Look, I am confident that Tony Abbott retains the strong support of the majority of his colleagues. That's because he's got a very good record over the last 18 months. Sure, we've made some mistakes. Sure, we need to improve our communication. But he also has a plan for the next 18 months in the lead up to the next election, and I think he deserves the clear air to prosecute that agenda.
Well, you talk about a plan, but everyone, even those supporting him, say there have to be changes. It can't go on. He hasn't been a great Prime Minister over the last 16 months, so what would have to change if the party room was to give their support to Tony Abbott today?
Well, I think we need to narrow our policy agenda on the things that matter: families, jobs, cost of living, and that's very important in the months ahead. The second thing I think we need to do is shine a light on our opposition, because at the end of the day they're the alternative government. Bill Shorten could be in the lodge, and I think that would be a bad outcome for the country. So we need to do that. And then thirdly, Hugh, clearly he needs to spend more time with his backbench, heed some of these messages that have been sent by them, and to go forward with a much more positive approach.
OK, so that's all assuming that he does survive today. What do you think, in terms of raw numbers, the vote would be on the motion for there to be a spill?
Look, I'm not going to speculate. I'll leave that to people like you, Hugh, but certainly a win is a win, and I'm hoping that once people have had an opportunity in a secret ballot, which I think is very becoming of the Prime Minister, it's appropriate that people can convey their opinion in secret. But after the vote is in, we rally behind the Prime Minister. We remember we're all Liberals and we're all one team.
How realistic is that? Because you've got Cory Bernardi, for example, a Conservative from South Australia, claiming that this has all been a matter of destabilisation from Malcolm Turnbull, that he's been calculating this and driving this for weeks. The bad blood is out again, and it's out in the open, isn't it?
Look, that's Cory's view. I think the last few weeks have been destabilising. I think they've been very disappointing, and they've been a massive distraction from our agenda. And the only people who have benefited over the last couple of weeks are the Labor Party, and we've seen that reflect in the polls today.
OK, Josh Frydenberg, Assistant Treasurer there, confident that Tony Abbott will emerge from this and still have time to change direction for the country, Sarah.
All right, thanks for that, Hugh. Paul